In recent months, debates in boxing circles have grown louder and more intense, especially with Terence "Bud" Crawford defeating Canelo Alvarez and making history as the first male fighter to become undisputed champion in three separate weight divisions. The aftermath of this fight has sparked comparisons between Crawford and Floyd Mayweather Jr., with trainers, analysts, fighters, and fans all weighing in on whether Crawford's accomplishments place him above Mayweather or whether Floyd's legacy remains untouched. The conversation has expanded far beyond a simple discussion of skills, reaching into the realms of legacy, timing, and the meaning of greatness itself in boxing. The dialogue begins with Floyd Mayweather himself, who reminded the public that when he fought Canelo Alvarez, he was already older than Canelo is today. He pointed out that he was 36 when he outclassed a much younger Alvarez, who at that time was still green and learning the ropes of the elite level. Floyd argued that his victory under those conditions was a greater achievement than Crawford defeating an older, slower, though more experienced version of Canelo. For Floyd, the comparison between the two wins is not equal. His stance was that beating a younger Canelo when he was already well past his physical prime was more telling of his greatness than Crawford's triumph over the veteran Alvarez. He emphasized his depth of resume, boasting 24 world champions defeated across 5 divisions, along with his 50-0 unbeaten record, insisting that such achievements are beyond Crawford's reach. Crawford, however, addressed these comparisons directly. In a live interview, he declared that Floyd's time has passed. He acknowledged Mayweather's legacy, but insisted this is his era now. He made it clear that the focus of boxing should no longer be on Mayweather but on him as the active face of the sport. Crawford was not dismissive of Floyd's accomplishments. Instead, he highlighted that every era has its king, and Mayweather's reign ended when he retired. Crawford positioned himself as the one carrying boxing forward in today's generation, showing full confidence in his place at the top. Analysts then began to dissect what separates Floyd and Crawford. Some argued that Crawford's unique achievement of becoming undisputed champion in 3 divisions surpasses Floyd's accolades. Both men excelled into their late 30s, but critics observed that Floyd's resume is deeper. The fact that both men's standout victories were against Canelo Alvarez is noteworthy, but analysts broke down the nuance. Floyd beat a younger, rawer Canelo, while Crawford beat an older but more seasoned version. The debate centers on which version of Canelo presented the greater challenge. Still, analysts stress that Crawford cannot be considered above Floyd yet because he does not have the flawless 50-0 record that cemented Mayweather's place in history. For Crawford to truly surpass Floyd, he would need to do something Floyd never did, such as move up and face fighters like David Benavidez. Many believe that defeating someone as big, dangerous, and highly regarded as Benavidez would elevate Crawford above Mayweather in all-time standing. Trainer Robert Garcia disagreed with the idea that Crawford should chase Benavidez. He argued that Crawford is far too intelligent to risk his legacy in such a dangerous fight. Garcia pointed out the massive size difference and the risk of losing his unbeaten record. In his view, Crawford has already secured his place in history and does not need to gamble everything against a fighter naturally much bigger than him. This brought the debate into sharper focus. Is greatness about taking the riskiest fights imaginable, or is it about preserving a near-perfect career once enough has been achieved? Jeff Mayweather, Floyd's uncle, also offered his perspective. He admitted Crawford's victory over Canelo was impressive, but insisted context mattered. He argued that Canelo was not the same fighter he once was. His sharpness and power diminished compared to his prime years. He reminded fans that before the fight, critics doubted Crawford's level of competition, and even after beating Canelo, detractors still downplay his achievement. For Jeff, the win was historic, but not enough to put Crawford above Mayweather. The technical aspects of the fight were also analyzed. Observers noted that Canelo tried to land single power shots rather than combinations, a strategy ineffective against a slick technician like Crawford. Crawford not only absorbed Canelo's best punches, but also fired back with his own, proving durable at 168 pounds. Both men took solid shots, but Crawford landed more consistently and controlled the pace. Analysts praised his ring IQ, adaptability, and willingness to adjust mid-fight, all of which allowed him to dismantle Canelo. Legendary fighter Roy Jones Jr. took a harsher stance against Floyd's historical standing. He argued that aside from facing Canelo, Floyd avoided fighting the best fighters of his era when they were at their peak. Roy criticized Mayweather for taking on opponents who were smaller, older, or past their best years. He claimed Mayweather's undefeated record is historic, but it does not tell the whole story because many of the opponents were strategically chosen. He brought up names like Miguel Cotto and Manny Pacquiao, saying Floyd fought them when they were no longer at their best. Jones insisted that the greatest of all time label attached to Mayweather is inflated, and fighters like Crawford show greater versatility and willingness to fight dangerous opposition. In his personal ranking, Roy said Mayweather might make the top 10, but never the top 5. Another analyst contrasted fame and skill. He noted that Floyd's global appeal was unparalleled, driven by his unbeaten streak and pay-per-view dominance. However, when judging pure boxing ability, he suggested Crawford may surpass him. Crawford's rare ability to switch seamlessly between orthodox and southpaw stances, coupled with knockout power in both hands, gives him a technical adaptability that even Floyd did not possess. Crawford's ability to fight on the inside, cut off the ring, and apply pressure makes him a unique challenge, one that some believe Mayweather would not overcome. For these analysts, the question became whether greatness should be measured by financial success and global fame or by raw boxing talent and adaptability. Fans and pundits then asked the ultimate question: who would win if Mayweather and Crawford fought each other in their primes? Many leaned toward Crawford. They cited his size, reach, and versatility as key advantages. Crawford is taller, longer, and naturally bigger than Mayweather. While Mayweather's defense was legendary, critics pointed out that he would be facing a fighter who could adapt to any style, carry power in both hands, and cut the ring off. They argued Crawford's southpaw abilities, footwork, and ring IQ would pose problems Floyd never had to deal with. For these reasons, many declared Crawford would have the style to defeat Mayweather, despite Floyd's unmatched defensive skills. Former champion Shane Mosley also weighed in, saying Crawford is naturally bigger and thus better equipped to move across divisions while maintaining power. He noted that while Floyd was a master of defense and timing, Crawford's size and reach would allow him to control the fight differently. Mosley believed the comparison is unfair because Crawford's frame and physicality gave him advantages Mayweather never had. Jeff Mayweather, however, countered by emphasizing that when Floyd beat Canelo, he was already past his prime years, slower and less sharp, yet still schooled Alvarez with defense and experience. He said this difference highlights Floyd's greatness because Crawford faced a different version of Canelo. He also reminded people that Floyd's win against Alvarez was scored a majority decision, with one judge calling it a draw, but Floyd had clearly dominated in the eyes of most. Jeff's point was that context matters, and Floyd's win still stands as the more impressive accomplishment. Crawford himself continued to show respect while asserting his place as the fighter of the present. He acknowledged Floyd's legacy, but said every era passes and new champions emerge. He expressed admiration for Mayweather, but made it clear that his time is now. Crawford added that in boxing, personal friendships sometimes prevent fights, mentioning that he never would have fought Timothy Bradley due to respect, but if the opportunity had come against Mayweather in the past, he would have taken it. When asked how he would beat Floyd, Crawford laughed it off, saying no one shares their secrets, but his confidence suggested he believed he had the formula. Trainer Greg Hackett praised Crawford's victory over Canelo as career-defining but warned against placing him above Mayweather too quickly. He explained that Floyd's body of work over decades still remains larger and more proven. Hackett admitted Crawford deserves recognition for dismantling Canelo, but cautioned against dismissing Floyd's achievements. Sean Porter, a former champion, spoke on his podcast about how Crawford not only met the challenge of fighting Canelo, but dismantled him in a way no one expected. He said Crawford's skill set clearly translates across divisions, proving his adaptability and brilliance. Porter emphasized that Crawford's victory shows his ability to compete with various styles at the highest level. The discussion then turned toward spectacle fights like those involving Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, with some analysts skeptical about their legitimacy. They argued that announcements with no date or venue are often used to gauge public interest rather than being serious events. This conversation highlighted how mainstream boxing sometimes collides with entertainment, but also reinforced how fighters like Crawford and Mayweather carry the sport's legacy. In the end, perhaps the most historic achievement that truly separates Crawford from nearly everyone else is his record as the first undisputed champion in 3 divisions. Few fighters in boxing history can claim such dominance across weight classes. This accomplishment alone ensures Crawford's place in history, regardless of whether fans believe he has surpassed Mayweather. His victory over Canelo was clean, decisive, and without controversy, proving that sometimes boxing delivers the pure sport without politics or questionable judging. When the final bell rang against Canelo Alvarez, Crawford had shown durability, skill, and adaptability at super middleweight. He stood in front of one of the sport's greatest champions, traded shots, and emerged the victor. While the debate over his place compared to Floyd Mayweather will continue, one truth remains undeniable. Terence "Bud" Crawford has written himself permanently into boxing history. His accomplishments guarantee him a spot among the sport's all-time greats, and whether or not he is considered greater than Floyd, he has secured his era.